Okay, good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Tridge webinar titled Revolutionizing Global Trade, Secure and Efficient Payment Solutions. I'm your host for today, Mzingayi Ndubio, and I'm joined by an esteemed panel of experts and presenters. So we will have quite an informative program for you today. So we'll just start off by introducing Tridge, giving you a brief overview of what we do. So, Tridge is a global trade ecosystem in the food and agriculture industry dedicated to fostering a safe and reliable trade community by combining professional networks with advanced data intelligence. And we aim to become the premier destination for sourcing solutions. All right, so today, since our presentation will be focused on payment methods, we are going to introduce today the Tridge Pay service for you. So, a brief introduction is Tridge Pay is a digital escrow solution for enabling more accessible solutions for secured trade payments. And as I said, we'll go into more depth during our main presentation. Okay, so expanding more on our services at Tridge, we do have four main services. So that includes our data and analytics, where we use that to inform buying and supplying decisions for our stakeholders. We also have the trade solution, where we actually have a B2B marketplace, and a fulfillment solution where we leverage our global network, and the Tridge Pay service, which we're going to get into more depth today during our presentation. So please note that you will be receiving a certificate of participation for joining this webinar. However, please kindly take note that you'll need to fill in the survey that will be sent to you, and the certificate will be issued to you within 3 business days. So our main agenda is going to have 3 main sections. So the first 2 will be part of our main presentation. The first part will be titled Understanding Buyer and Supplier Pain Points in Trade Payments. And the second part will be titled Innovative Solutions for Secure and Cost-Effective Transactions. Following that, we will have a panel discussion where our experts will tackle some main questions related to the subject of discussion. And following that, we will have a Q&A section where we will tackle some of the questions that you will pose during the presentation. So please feel free to enter your questions in the chat section, and we will try and get to them during the Q&A section. If we fail because of time to get through all the questions, we will send you answers to those questions within 3 business days. Okay, as I said, my name is Mzingayi Ndubio, and I'm your presenter today. I'm a global market analyst at Tridge, based in South Africa. And our host today is Juhi. Juhi, do you mind introducing yourself just in a few short words?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm leading product for Tridge Pay, which is making a suitable escrow solution, especially for trade payments. And I will go through the overall agenda as MZ presented, with more introduction about the key value proposition of our new product, and also try to discuss what can be any other alternative or feasible way for traders, importer, exporter, to relieve such pain points when negotiating the payment terms.
Okay, thank you so much, Juhi. Looking forward to that presentation. And then our panel of experts, we've got quite a diverse group, all the way from Europe to Asia. Alper, do you mind giving us a brief introduction?
Sure, MZ. This is Alper from Turkey. I'm an agricultural engineer and have a master's degree of logistics and supply chain management. I have background of foreign trade, logistics, and supply chain. Again, I can say I'm responsible for Turkey and the regional market.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Alper. Samson, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Samson. I currently am the compliance officer and the money laundering reporting officer at Hong Kong Tridge Pay. I've had background in Rabobank, Deutsche, and BNP Paribas before joining the Tridge team, all in compliance or KYC, AML related roles.
Okay, thank you so much, Samson. As you can see, we do have quite a knowledgeable panel of experts here. And now we're going to move to our main presentation. Juhi, feel free to go ahead.
So we would like to start from what are the current pain points when it comes to actually make payment or receive payment when you are trying to export or import to, or especially overseas. And actually, as a Tridge group, we already had been operating our direct trading business, as MZ introduced briefly in the beginning. And we have had making a lot of transaction across more than 54 markets. And through that period, we experienced a lot of hassle and disputes and payment risk when we actually worked as directly either buyer or either seller, since we were the trader in between those parties. So actually, as you are already experiencing as a professional in trade industry, usually, especially in food and agriculture, the buyers and sellers bear to maintain cash against document condition, meaning that they send payment by wire transfer, since either LC is too expensive or too cumbersome, or they cannot open LC. And that was just black and white solution so far. And in CAD solution, there are many risks. We already know that we have risk, but it has been the more practical option so far. But the case is that even though we verbally promised that, okay, let's do CAD, there's cases always there, supplier delay shipment, or even worse, they have vanishing situation, and vice versa. Sellers, when they are ready with the goods, the payment is not on time, or buyers just go away. I mean, just cancel the transaction. So this has been a very weak condition to maintain the trade, and that's why when buyer and seller negotiate, the portion of advance payment and portion of CAD has been always the hardest part to negotiate to make a balanced conclusion. And even worse, especially in food and agri trade, there's a lot of frauds in terms of the fact that the portion of advance payment in many of the agricultural products is quite large. And when you are dealing with unknown market, this risk is going higher and higher. So what we are trying to navigate today is actually what are the alternatives so far on our hands, and what we can suggest as a Tridge, as a product for such pain points for buyer and seller. So if we look on the letter of credit, so usually this is a case when LC can be open, is usually the case that supplier has quite a bargaining already, since the cost of LC is usually on buyer side. And actually, or usually the buyer and seller, if they cannot maintain LC, they either maintain just wire transfer, or they just hold private escrow, meaning that they ask privately for their law firm who has connection with, and that law firm works as a middleman to protect the trade. And each situation has pros and cons, but LC has been the only solution so far, but it's too expensive. And sometimes your company's credit doesn't allow to maintain such letter of credit. And private escrow is even more costly and too cumbersome to that you have to make agreement with individual law firm. And even though we had, so there has been digital escrow in terms of client, personal deals like escrow.com. There is no tailored system for escrow service for cross-border trade so far. And the risk of payment that what buyer and sellers actually face has never been well solved so far, unless they have very sizable business to maintain under protection of letter of credit for every single transaction they manage. So what we have actually launched is payments escrow payment solution, which is only tailored for trade payments, and we are trying to target for solving such issue as a buyer's pain point to protect that their supplier's default or that their supplier's non-fulfillment situation can be protected, since their money is not released to seller yet before the original bill of lading is handed over to buyer. And as a result, we are seeing that the buyers who can suggest this solution is actually having a better negotiation with global suppliers, and vice versa with seller and seller to buyer, since before that they were just black and white option, either TT or LC, or we do drop the deal. But we can make them to get to the point that both of their parties can be mutually making benefits. And this is more detailed about most of the escrow service ask buyer to put full protection amount as soon as the escrow is activated, which is not suitable for natural flow of the normal import-export transaction. So we have customized our process up to the cash flow of buyers. And our bank account, meaning that the escrow bank has been under Deutsche Bank Hong Kong, so we can assure that we are having more than ever trustworthiness in terms of the in terms of the anti-money laundering, KYC, and also protection of the fund, since this means that Deutsche Bank Hong Kong allowed us to do know your clients KYC process on behalf of them to us. So we are accepting the clients on behalf of Deutsche Bank in terms of the clients who use Tridge Pay, and also we are having a double monitoring together in terms of the banking account which is used under this escrow system. So this is more like the separate benefits which I like to highlight when you are to use escrow, not just for Tridge Pay, but in general, when you are making a protection, is that unlike import insurance, which is for final last result that you can depend when there has been a fraud of your transaction. Actually, when you use any escrow, this can be helpful to protect that event in advance, since insurance is the protection when you are getting recovered from such event which already happened. But escrow mechanism, which is, let's say, if it is well designed, it protects such non-fulfillment in advance. So I think the benefit over traditional cash against document condition is already well described, so I'll just go over very quickly. So usually in trade condition, buyers have to pay first to seller and wait for the goods to be ready. But in escrow condition, they put money not directly to seller to third-party escrow bank account. And then seller prepares the shipment. And when buyer is confirmed that the shipment is ready, and when buyer agrees to release the money, then the escrow bank release the money to seller. So this is the benefit that they can earn compared to the conventional wire transfer situation. And the other thing is that when we compare this with letter of credit, which has been the only protection methods for conventional trading, usually LC fee is starting from 1.0 in Korea, and it can be lower or a bit higher up to your credit in the bank. But escrow is not bound to the credit, and actually, unlike LC, which is 1% is usually 100% burdened by buyer. Our service is starting from 0.7, which can be divided, mutually agreed by buyer and supplier. So actual burden for each party is at least half or even more than half than usual LC. But the protection mechanism is very much similar, since usually LC covers till shipment, and our service also covers till shipment happens. And other than cost benefits, what we are trying to highlight is that it's more like operational convenience. You have to visit the bank branch, and we have to pay everything whenever you have to revise something. And when it comes to engage a lot of intermediary banks, it takes more than 2 weeks. But this is digital service, so a lot of cost in operational aspect is minimized. And as this is the service which is designed to fulfill mutual benefits, not only for buyer, not only for seller, but to make a mutual agreement between each party. Seller who are exporting their goods to new buyer or bigger deals to existing buyers can have better opportunity to close their transactions, since so far, usually what we see is that the supplier who couldn't open letter of credit drops the deal, or has to find a way in very complex way to open the letter of credit in other entity and get the money from their entity. But with this, we are covering almost all crossover countries except for restricted region like Iran, and they get assurance of their transaction without asking buyer to pay high portion of money to them directly. And of course, since we do have a KYC process in normal banking perspective, they can be assured, even by not only buyer, not only seller, but both of them can be assured that their counterparty is the one who has a legit business entity before getting into actual transaction. So this has been the very brief introduction about our escrow solution itself. But I would like to expand this subject into more bigger theme to a panel discussion, and I will hand this over MZ to our host.
Thank you so much, Juhi. That was a very, very insightful presentation. I mean, so convincing, it makes me want to sign up for Tridge Pay myself. I'm not even a trader. So no, it was really, really interesting, Juhi. I think one of the main points that I took from that was the collaboration with Deutsche Bank. And I think that definitely enhances the credibility and reliability of the service, because Deutsche Bank it's one of the most notable banks when it comes to escrow services. Juhi, what would you say in terms of comparing Tridge Pay with some of the other leading escrow solutions? Would you say it's quite comparable?
So usually the escrow services use very regional bank. Even escrow.com, which is based in Australia, they use their own regional bank, which is not global bank. But the reason that we try to work with global bank is that, first of all, even letter of credit is becoming a fraud when it comes to a very regional minor banks engaged. But unless you work with a very big bank, there's always such risk. And we want to make sure for trading business, your money, the amount of money is not comparable with individual like transaction. And we must make it assure that your money is safe under credible bank. And that's the first thing we had been trying to achieve. So it took us actually 1 year to make this conclusion with Deutsche in Hong Kong.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you so much, Juhi. And for everyone viewing, the slides will be shared with you. So don't worry if you didn't manage to take note of all the information she was sharing. The slides will be shared. Thank you so much, Juhi. Now we're going to move to our panel discussion, and we're going to be joined now by Alper, Samson, and Juhi as well. So we're going to cover three main questions. And our initial question is, what are the advantages of using alternative payment solutions over traditional methods like letters of credit? Alper, do you want to kick us off?
Ramsey. Traditional payment methods like LCs have long been used to reduce risk in global trade, but they come with significant drawbacks, high costs, slow processing times, and complex documentation requirements. Many small and medium sized businesses struggle to access them due to banking restrictions and credit limits. So, what are the alternative? Digital escrow based payments offer a cost effective, secure solution. So, LC fees typically exceed 1% of transaction value, along with the additional bank charges. Alternative solutions operate at a lower cost, making global trade more accessible. And while LCs can take 5 to 10 days to process, digital escrow payments can be completed within 1 to 3 days upon shipment verification. And unlike LCs, which require bank approvals, escrow-based payments can be used by any verified buyer and supplier, enabling smoother transactions. So I can give you some example from dried fruit exporters who have transitioned to escrow-based payments, cut processing times, and eliminated banking-related delays, improving cash flow. And I can give you an example from West Africa cocoa cooperatives like LC costs were limiting trade, but with escrow bank-backed payments, cooperatives gained supplier confidence, leading to higher export volumes. So, in general, at the beginning of a trade, sellers often require 100 percentage payment or an advance. However, buyers perceive this as a risk, significantly reducing the chance of the trade taking place. Conversely, buyers prefer to make payment only upon the arrival of goods or after receiving the original documents in physical form, which creates serious trust issues for suppliers. As a result, even when all conditions are met, the trade cannot process. So both parties have serious concerns about the risk of fraud. These alternative payment solutions also helps both buyers and suppliers build trust and streamline trade operations more effectively.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Alper. That was quite informative. Samson, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's also mainly an argument of what um, what suppliers and buyers are willing to pay in order to have a more risk controlled situation. I mean, aside from LCs, traditionally banks, you also would be offered multiple different types of financing options from a trade finance point of view, like factoring, supply chain financing, warehouse financing, etc. But again, they're also all restricted by the same factors that Alper mentioned, right? So credit limits, availability. And from the LC point of view, it's also restricted by whether the opposing bank also offers those products as well. So that also leads to an even more constricted environment. Looking on the other hand, for more traditional types like open account trading or even wire transfers when conducting trading, that leads to the opposite angle where it may be too free. Although they have lower cost and the speed itself is much better, it opens itself more to risk since there's lack of oversight, etc. Even looking at, for example, although it's not trade finance exactly, there are very traditional, more local transaction methods like the Hawala system in the Middle East, where you would have a middleman in each country and you would give money to a person in country A and the person in country B will give out that money. So there's a lot of these more niche and more traditional systems as well. But again, it's the lack of oversight, even though it's very accessible. So from that perspective, I think what we are offering here, like Tridge Pay, a more digitized, a very global system, is a very good like middle point to bridge those two aspects.
Thank you so much, Samson. Juhi, do you have something to add?
Yes. I will just add one tip. So I think the one crucial part when you are comparing what option to take in terms of making payment to your partner in transaction actually depends on the payment provider, meaning that who are engaged actually in terms of wiring the money and receiving the money. So when I give one example, actually there has been a large deal from letter of credit, which is from between Vietnam and Australia. And Australia's regional bank scammed the Vietnamese exporters. So even for this conventional methodology, depending on what counterparty bank is engaged, there's always risk. So we have to be very cautious in terms of, especially when it comes to a very large amount of the trading value. We have to be very cautious about who are the actual operator of receiving and sending the money to the counterparty.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Very informative answers, and definitely sees from what you guys are saying that the alternative payment solutions are definitely the way of the future. I mean, we have seen so many cases where the traditional methods have failed a lot of buyers, like what Alpa was saying. Let's
So
move on.
yeah,
No,
just
Julie,
one thing
go ahead.
that
Go ahead.
so in Korea we saw blockchain is used for trading as well, but it's not very common yet in global. So I will not highlight that point at this webinar. Yeah.
Okay, sure, no problem. So moving on to our second question. How can secure payment solutions like Tridge Pay improve negotiations with global suppliers compared to TT or wire transfer? Juhi, you can go ahead.
So there are certain situations that some buyers cannot make the bargaining over the sellers in terms of negotiating the payment term, and also vice versa. But except for those particular fields or situation in general, we have noticed that both the buyer and sellers are in a good faith in general, and they want to close the deal. But the current system is blocking them since at this moment someone has to compromise and by himself. For example, let's say in general, in the current problem of cash gain document is that buyer should pay first. Is in normal situation, and even for CAD, they have to put some portion in as an advance payment in general, like trading. And in the beginning of the deal, buyers should make a commitment to the deal to show that they are really want to purchase this product from them. And even for CAD, this is actually risky for both buyer and seller, and seller is always having a risk that they have to prepare the goods by their cost. But that's why there's always first down payment in almost every transaction in agri and food deal, unless it's very like seafood deal, like where seller has a larger bargaining. So also asking a buyer to open letter of credit is actually quite a high commitment to them, since that you are asking them to use their credit limit and also use their cost. So the benefit for making improved negotiation is that making a less burden to buyer and seller both. And actually, as we mentioned very briefly in the last presentation, both parties have equal benefits to protect their own transaction. And as long as they fulfill their own obligation, meaning that buyer pays first on escrow and seller prepare shipment by the due date, they don't have any bad case. So this is actually enhancing the good faith of both parties in general.
Okay, thank you so much, Juhi. Albert, do you have something to add?
Sure. Many traders rely on cash against documents or direct wire transfers, assuming they provide sufficient security. However, these methods can expose both buyers and suppliers to serious risks. On buyer's perspective, goods are not shipped or delayed. We can say supplier may delay the shipment or refuse to ship entirely after receiving the deposit. So buyer may receive goods that do not match the contract with a little recourse once payment is made. And some suppliers forge shipping documents, making it appear as if goods were dispatched when they were not. From supplier's perspective, the buyer might delay payment after receiving goods, creating a financial burden for the supplier. And buyers could claim quality issues or missing goods as an excuse to delay or avoid payment. In some cases, buyers initiate chargebacks or block payments, leaving suppliers unpaid. So if I wanna give you, I mean, for real world trade risks, for example, a buyer from India, as I heard, placed a large order for apples from a Turkish supplier. To secure the shipment, they made a significant advance payment. However, the shipment never took place, and the supplier disappeared, leaving the buyer with no way to recover the funds. This case highlights the risk of making large advance payments without proper safeguards. Also, I can say a buyer from Dubai attempt to purchase X from a supplier from again Turkey, as I know. They ask for 50 percentage to full payment as a supplier in Turkey in egg trade. Also making an upfront payment to secure the order. Despite competing the payment, the goods were never delivered, and the supplier ceased the communication. This service is another example of how buyers can fall victim to fraudulent transactions when payment terms are not carefully managed. Even when a shipment has been completed and shipping documents such as bill of lading are provided, whether as images, PDFs, or even original documents copies, these documents can still be altered by a shipper while the vessel is in transit. There have been cases where companies made payment based on the initial documents, only to find out later that the details had been changed, leaving them vulnerable to financial loss. This is why holding payments in a secure escrow system managed by a trusted intermediary can provide significant protection, and such systems benefit both buyers and suppliers, particularly when entering high risk markets. And I can say, from a supplier's perspective, exporting to unfamiliar markets, such as, for example, certain African countries, can also present risk. Even if payments are made through banks, concerns may arise regarding the reliability of banks or ports in specific countries. There have been instances where goods were released from ports without the required documentation, leading to significant losses for suppliers. In such cases, having an intermediary company ensures that the buyer completes the full payment before the goods are released, with the documentation and shipping procedures strictly following contract terms. So this system not only protects buyers but also safeguards suppliers from financial and operational risks. In this way, the issue of mutual trust is eliminated, ensuring that both parties' rights are secured.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Alper. And based on the examples that you gave, I've actually witnessed myself a few similar cases here in South Africa where, like you say, documents have been altered, shipping documents have been altered, and you know, uh, suppliers or buyers make certain decisions, and then you find that it's not what you thought it was. So I think Tridge Pay will actually solve a lot of problems in many regions, especially here. Samson, do you want to add your part to that?
Yeah. So, um, from my perspective as the compliance officer, when we've designed our AML framework, our policies, and our workflow, when we conduct our reviews on the clients, we have tried to be as comprehensive as reasonably possible. Um, Similar to what Julie said, that there's equal benefit for buyer and seller when using our service. I think one unique point for Tridge Pay is that we will conduct CDD and KYC reviews on both the buyer and the seller. In that way, when people onboard to our service, they should be confident and feel more secure when trading with these partners. In cases such as YTT, aside from the time that you onboard with your bank initially, there are, I wouldn't say there are no checks, but there are minimal checks to go with who your counterparty is. And that leads to a lot of friction whenever there are issues down the line. Even with trade finance products like letter of credit, onboarding and KYC checks only occur at the respective party's bank level. So if I am to trade with Alper, his bank in Turkey would do KYC on him, but they won't do KYC on me. Vice versa. I would have KYC done on myself in Hong Kong, but not on Alper. So there's always that element of uh, of unknown whenever these transactions are conducted. But for Tridge Pay, we would be doing KYC on both, and that leads to a more balanced ground, making it more secure. Um, I also want to say that um, just to reiterate more about our systems, unlike regular payment systems, so for example, if I'm looking at um, say an online payment system, the level of due diligence that they conduct are also similarly low, given the not low. I don't want to disparage other services, but the level of standard expected for that regulated activity will not be up to what we are asking. As not only are we adherent to local regulations made by the Hong Kong government. So we're subjected to the AMLO, the Hong Kong Money Laundering Ordinance. We're also subjected to the policies and standards of Deutsche as well. And that leads to a lot of global standards as well. So not only Hong Kong, but we're also subjecting ourselves to OFAC from the United States and EU regulations as well. So it makes us a very globally adherent payment system and should make us very secure to people who use it around the world, not just in Asia or Europe.
Thank you, Samson. That was an interesting point that you mentioned when you said like we do KYC on both ends. I think that's something definitely to take note of. Okay, so we'll be going to our last question for the panel discussion. What steps can buyers take to reduce financial burdens while maintaining secure transactions? Samson, you can go ahead.
Um, I want to sort of, as I'm a compliance officer, It's mainly my perspective to have. But I want to also reiterate that although many, and relating back to the question as well, although many parties would like to consider these KYC reviews and these compliance measures as a very cost burdening operation, I see that a lot of banks as well has this mentality where compliance is just a cost department, would bring no income. But the reality is having these compliance measures in place is actually a very cost saving way. It prevents fines, it prevents potential fraud, potential issues arising from these transactions. So I think buyers as well as suppliers, when entering these transactions, should think that having these KYC measures are part of a very necessary procedure in order to ensure that these transactions are secure. And a matter of fact, that I think this element goes beyond financial burdens as well, because it also includes other matters like regulatory matters, whether we or other parties can keep their trading licenses. It can also be a reputational thing as well, since being able to use the service and being able to use it with confidence is a good boost towards not only your own company but our reputation as well, allowing more people to be able to use it with more confidence. And it's also good for the overall market, since I think compliance in the end is similar to how law works, in that the rule of law is a function to provide market stability and market confidence. So I think compliance and making sure that people understand and realize that we are not asking these things just to be annoying or be nosy, as I think some people would like to think. We are actually doing this to make sure that your business do well, and it's important to try your best to cooperating with our requests. And of course, it's vice versa as well. If you don't understand why we're asking these things, we can always uh, communicate, since there's always a policy backing or a legal understanding as well.
Yeah, thank you, Samson. I think when it comes to transactions and money, I think the more questions, I don't think people that are serious about protecting their money have a problem with the questions. So I think the questions are appreciated.
Yes.
Actually, it shows that there is a layer of protection. So I think that shouldn't be a problem. Alpert, do you have anything to add?
Sure, MG. Uh, Balancing cash flow and security is one of the biggest challenges in global trade. So, to achieve this, buyers can reduce reliance on high cost financing. LCs and bank guarantees consumes credit lines and require upfront collateral, as we told before. Alternative escrow based models provide similar security at a lower cost, and they can use structured payment terms instead of 100% upfront payments. Buyers can negotiate phased payments, initial deposit plus final payment upon shipment verification to improve liquidity. And they can ensure smooth supplier relationship by offering secure guaranteed payments. Buyers can reduce supplier demands for prepayment and negotiate better pricing or terms. And I can give you some examples like phased payment structures have helped companies reduce cash flow pressure while ensuring suppliers receive timely payments. And this is from vegetables from exporters in Turkey. And I can give you an example from, for example, Senegal and mango exporters. By payment security in place, suppliers gained better access to international buyers, boosting trade volumes. I can add.
If I add just one more thing, is Samsung and Alper has been shared general approach. I will share more practical approach. So far, the methodology that buyers or sellers to take when it comes to make a more security for their own transaction has been very few. Actually, first method is getting lower letter of credit with their like own capability as a company entity. And second is actually making or setting up a private escrow by their own with either law firm or consulting firm. And third thing is just doing without it, but this is out of the question. And so we have been seeing this as a very big issue in global trade, since there has been no clear viable option in between these two gaps, which is very different between each other, and there's no middle solution where they can relieve their concern with more accessible approach. So I am thinking that like digital escrow solution like us, which we very focus on, where they very focus on cross-border trading, can help to give an answer for the last question.
Okay, thank you so much, Juhi. And thank you, Alper and Samson. Very insightful information there that's been shared. Let's try and okay. So before that, just one point to note: we do have an offer for you regarding Tridge Pay. Kindly visit our official website. That's pay.tridge.com, and you can create your account there. And that's a company account, of course. Submit your Tridge Pay account ID answering on the webinar survey, and we will send you 100% fee exemption voucher code for one transaction of the account to your email address, which will be effective until 2025, March 31st. Okay. So let's quickly move on to the Q&A section. We do have a few interesting questions that we would like to get into. So going straight ahead, our first question from Jonathan Nuhu. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He asked, is the Tridge Pay available for everyone at every level? Samson, do you want to try and help him out?
Yeah. So we tailor our coverage based on our country risk rating. So far, we should be able to offer our services globally, aside from some select regions that we don't allow due to policy reasons, both from sanctioned regimes and from Deutsche requirements, like to name a few, Cuba, Syria, um, Iran, Venezuela, North Korea, Russia, and Ukraine. So those should be the regions we don't have coverage at the moment. But country risk ratings are a changing thing. So this is our list so far.
Okay, thank you so much, Samson. Is there a place where maybe people can check this list?
Currently not, since it's our own internal classification. But I will discuss with Juhi about maybe implementing something more
Okay,
publicly
then maybe
visible.
it can be sent maybe via email to the attendees, maybe, so they have a clear understanding. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Samson. Okay, we'll move on to our second question, which was posed by Dr. Shivraj Singh. So he asked how to share global market information with people in rural areas. Um, Alper, do you want to try and answer him?
Sure, MT. I can suggest them to sign up to a digital solutions to access all the markets that they want to see. I mean, their target markets or whatever they need. So I can tell about our solutions. I mean, we improved our solutions, and we introduced Tridge Eye, an AI powered solution designed to revolutionize decision making in the agri-food industry. So by integrating internal purchasing data with external market intelligence, Tridge Eye provides strategic insights that helps businesses optimize costs, improve efficiency, and enhance risk management. So what it includes, we have iBook, an AI-driven purchase management system tailored for agri-food businesses. Each centralizes procurement data and identifies cost-saving opportunities and benchmarks purchasing performance against market trends. And I can tell about iShelf. We say a powerful market intelligence platform that provides real-time insights for sourcing and sales strategies, leveraging AI for hyper segmentation. It enables precise and efficient sourcing by offering. And I can say iSpeaker is our upcoming solution, a, a real-time market monitoring tool designed to keep businesses ahead of market fluctuations. It delivers alerts on price fluctuations, supply chain risks, and emerging opportunities with AI-driven plus price fluctuation detection, automated market analysis reports, strategic alerts for procurement and sales teams. So I suggest to for them to register to our system and have a meeting with one of our AEs as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, Alper. And for everyone attending, the emails for all three of our experts were shared. So if you want more information on what they're discussing, please kindly email them, and you'll be furnished with that. And then we'll go through one final question from Alan Arnold, and he asked, "How is your system different to the Octet system?" Juhi, do you want to give your perspective on this?
Sure. This is very good question, since not only our clients also get confused how we are different from other payment processing services. So usually the cross-border payment processing services like Octave Pay or Payoneer or Stripe, they're like actually focusing on making the payment itself as a payment agent, meaning that they do foreign exchange by themselves, they do processing of the payment by their own e-wallet. But unlike those services, we focus on digital escrow, meaning that our payment processing is processed under Deutsche Bank system. So we don't engage in foreign exchange by ourselves. And the transfer of the money and receive the money is under virtual account, bank account system under SWIFT code of Deutsche Bank. But we focus on making a escrow contracting and escrow contract management system between buyer and seller, giving them more suitable condition to proceed smooth transaction in between import and export processes. So that will be the key difference. Actually, the nature of the business is very different.
Okay. Thank you so much, Juhi, Alper, and Samson for answering those questions. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to email us. The emails have been shared, and we'll try and get to you at our earliest convenience. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. So just to sum up some of the information that was shared, I think some of the interesting points to note, as Juhi did mention, our collaboration with the Deutsche Bank, that definitely adds a lot of credibility and reliability to the service. And as like Samson shared, the list of countries where this service is available is quite comprehensive. Alper did talk about how there are concerns with transactions at times with African countries and also certain Asian countries as well. So most of those countries are covered in this service. So this is something that should be quite useful to most traders globally. Juhi, do you have any final comments to make? We do have a few more minutes.
So we do have, actually we launched this service, which is already active from last year, but we didn't have a big announcement yet to entire Tridge.com since we are revamping the overall UX altogether. But we're gonna have a official demo day soon for Tridge Pay in this March, along with the UX revamp of Tridge platform. And I got a question from Alan. So you're the escrow manager. We are this digital escrow system like escrow.com, as you said. But the difference between escrow.com and us will be that escrow.com is for personal transaction, but our transaction focus is for B2B, and not all B2B, but only focusing on trade financing, trade payments. And that is the boundary that we got licensed under Hong Kong SAR and under the bank, so that we can make a cross-border transaction based in Hong Kong within our system by ourselves.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer, Juhi. And thank you, Alper and Samson. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we hope that this has been quite informative for you. The slides for the webinar will be shared within 3 business days. So don't worry if there's anything you want to go over, any details. The emails are also there shared with you. Please kindly reach out to any of our experts or Tridge HQ directly if you have any questions or anything else that you want to inquire about. Thank you so much. And this is the end of our webinar. We hope to see you guys soon. Have a good day.